Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show where we dive into the mind of a regular guy on his road to self-discovery. You'll hear everyday people just like you share the latest topics, personal stories, and things they've learned along the way. And now, please welcome your host, Wise.
And welcome to another episode. I am your host, W-I-Z-E, and I have a special guest on. I thought he was going to be from Tokyo, Japan, but he surprised me. He's out in San Francisco today. He is the founder of Honkaku Spirits. He's the author of the Shochu Handbook. Welcome to the show, Christopher Pellegrini. What's going on, Christopher?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm welcome, Wise. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, good morning, early morning from San Francisco.
Yes, I was like, all right, he's gonna be. I'm gonna speak to somebody in Tokyo. They're like, oh, I'm in San Francisco. Like, oh, that's cool.
Sorry, man.
It's all
Maybe
good.
next time we can do it. Next time we do it, I'll almost assuredly be on the other side of the Pacific.
No, that's cool. That's cool. So, all right. So, it's crazy because you founded Honkaku Spirits during the pandemic, and that's similar to me. I got into my podcast. I started my production company all during the pandemic, and so when I saw your message and we communicated, I was like, this is cool because this is an experience that shows you, like, even through some of the worst of times, people are still doing things and going and starting businesses and starting opportunities for themselves. So it was cool to see someone like you do that.
It was a character building experience, I gotta say. Kind of like being dragged behind a bus would be a character building experience. Yeah, it was exciting. I mean, quitting a full-time job and then starting something from scratch. I'm sure there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there watching this, a lot of people that have had experiences with startups of one form or another, and you'll learn a lot really, really fast whether you want to or not. And I'm sure you feel the same way.
Oh, definitely, bro. You start wondering, like, you thinking, all right, I'm gonna be my own boss. Oh, the hour. You actually work more hours starting your own business than you would do a job, and the pay isn't as good at the beginning compared to a job. Yeah, what pay exactly? What pay? People get paid. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so it's cool. It's like, for me, it was just a blessing that I was able to start the production company and start the podcasting, and we launched the internet radio station, and it was just me wanting more, because I still work my 9 to 5 and I do this on my days off and when I get out of work.
hmm
So for me, it's just been to find what I love to do, not knowing that this is what I love to do. Because when I started, I didn't know I was gonna love this so much. I didn't know I was gonna have a
Okay.
voice, because I'm not from the media field. I'm a table games dealer.
Okay.
So for me to do this and end up being pretty good at it and having a good time doing it, it was just like a blessing, man. And especially during the time of the pandemic.
Yeah, when everybody needed to expand their skill set in some way or just find what was really going to work for them. I think one of the silver linings, if we can call it a silver lining of the entire episode, the ongoing episode, is that people were reassessing their lives, reassessing what they felt to be important, prioritizing their values and taking care of themselves a lot more. And I think for many people out there, it was a career shift, or it was a pause of some sort. It was a gap year, maybe. It was just rearranging what comes first, second, and third in your life, and making sure that you take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you've been in Japan for over 2 decades. What
Right.
made you go? What made you go to Japan?
A girl.
I know that feeling. That's why I live in Pennsylvania right now.
Yep. My now wife was the impetus for moving to Japan back in late 2002. And, it was supposed to just be a 1 year experiment, and 1 year became two, and two became 20. And so we're still there, and we love it. We've lived in Tokyo the entire time, and we were both academics, or she is an academic, and I was also in academia for a long time until March of 2020, and then I did something that I felt I had needed to do for a long time, and that was start an import company in the United States to, I'm in the booze business now, from
That's
academics to booze.
put it nicely. Yes, in the booze. He from academics to booze. Yeah, that's a big shift, man. From going to, but I know because I was in business with a friend, and we had a wine shop, and so it was a great experience. I learned a lot from it, and we actually tasted some sake from. We used to have some bottles of sake in the shop, and but Tokyo's what Tokyo is has a pretty good is whiskey,
Mm,
and some people rave about the whiskey that's in Tokyo, which is when you think of whiskey, you don't really think about Tokyo.
sure. I mean, the whiskey traditions in Japan are relatively young. We're talking less than 100 years. I mean, the big boy out there is Suntory, that huge brand, and I think they were established in 1938. So this is a very quick genesis of a class of whiskey that has taken the world by storm. And now you'll find that if you ever run into an age-stated Japanese whiskey out there in the wild, it's going to be triple digits at least. I mean, you're talking high 200s, easily $300 and above for a bottle, and sometimes way beyond that. It went 0 to 60 in about 2.5 seconds there, uh, maybe 10 years ago, and it hasn't looked back. And I think one thing that people appreciate about Japanese whiskey is that it's a tribute to Scotch, but without all of the smoke and the peat in many cases. Now there are exceptions, of course, but it's a very, people will call it smooth and balanced style that works for a lot of people. Now, if you're not a big Scotch drinker, then maybe you're not going to love it quite as much, but it definitely is not Scotch. I should be clear about that. It is its own thing, and it's a relatively young and award-winning new class of
Oh no,
spirit.
it is. There was I can't remember the name of the whiskey that they're no longer making it, and like you said, if you can get to drink it, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny.
Yeah, yeah, that understatement of the year. Yeah, these things go for outrageous amounts in the secondary market right now.
Yeah, it's that's crazy.
It is. And our the business that we started in March of 2020, Honkaku Spirits, is focused on Japanese indigenous spirits primarily. We do have a whiskey in our portfolio, but out of the 10 products that are currently in the US market on store shelves, only one of them is a whiskey. The other nine are, as you mentioned before, shochu, Shochu, Japan's indigenous spirit, which is more than 500 years old, as opposed to around, less than 100 years old for the whiskey that we're accustomed to.
All right. So how is I know the culture over there is completely different from it's completely different from over here in the
Oh
states.
yes,
I'm sure it was a big culture shock for you when you made the move.
it was. It was. Well, like anything, yeah, everybody's experienced culture shock before, like when they've gone to a new school, or you join a new company, or you move to a new town. There's some level of culture shock because the way that things are done is different. Maybe the way that people talk to each other is different. Possibly the food is different, right? So naturally, when I moved to Japan in 2002, there were both surface level differences, uh, compared to what I was used to, and then also very, very deep differences. And the culture shock you experience first is the stuff that you see and observe and feel first, but the stuff that causes long-term issues is the deep stuff that you don't you can't really see, taste, or touch. And I was fortunate because I had lived in Spain and I had lived in South Korea, and so Japan was actually technically my third stint at being a professional foreigner or a long-term foreign person in a new environment. So it wasn't as much of a topsy-turvy type of experience as it might have been if it was my first go at it. But still, I mean, you're talking just coming from an American perspective anyway, just pretty much everything is the other way around. Up is down, left is right. And the language, just trying to learn the language, we put our verbs in the middle of the sentence. In Japanese, they put their verbs at the end of the sentence. So just trying to twist your brain around that is enough to put most people through fits. Some examples of things that were causing culture shock at the beginning, very surface level things, were the way that people greet each other and the way that people say no, and which can be incredibly convoluted and vague. The ways that people order their food, the ways that you pay money in a, at a convenience store, all of those sorts of things took a long time for me to really feel like I was getting it right and not sticking out too much. But the things that still cause me some culture shock today, there's one big one, and that's the age-based seniority system, the senior junior type of relationships that are baked into most organizations or most groups. So that one caused me, so still to this day causes issues for me personally because it's not a merit-based system, it's a seniority-based system, and that in many cases, especially having spent nearly 2 decades in academia, drove me bonkers for a long time because I was always the junior guy, and so I was just expected to keep my mouth shut, which I'm not very good at doing.
Oh no, it's crazy because when you think about it, it's like if you go off anytime if you go for seniority and say someone is not the best at what they do, but they've
Hmm.
been there at least 5 years more than you,
Hmm.
that would suck, especially if you can run circles around that person at the job. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't I wouldn't want to be living in a system like that. That's crazy to me.
It takes some getting used to,
Yeah.
certainly. You can
Uh,
work with it,
you
and
you eventually you can adapt. Yes, I can get that. But like you said, you you don't hope you we being the way Americans are, we kind of like we're kind of blunt and and speak our minds.
yep, yep. So it causes some issues if you're not careful, obviously.
Yes.
In Japanese, shigata ga nai or shoganai, and that translates roughly to it can't be helped. And the knee-jerk reaction in the beginning for me was like, yeah, it can be helped. This can be changed. This is dumb. But then what I realized over time was that no, it really cannot be changed because that would require so many people's buy-in to actually change it. There is so much risk involved for any one individual to in going against the grain and trying to change something that it's not going to change. It's best to just,
So all right.
pick your battles.
So you being a startup company now and
Yeah.
all that, and um, I'm sure you have a office over there in Japan and over here and something over here in the States. Um, at your office in Japan, would you implement that system or would you stick to the system
That's a
that we're accustomed to? Do you want to reward those that you know are doing the hard work and might have been there less time than someone you've had couple of more years?
that's a great question. I think the answer, at least as far as, and technically it's I have two separate I meaning we have two separate companies. One in Japan that focuses on brand development and export, and a separate entity in New York that focuses on import and then stakeholder activation, whether it be the sales force or its bottle shops or its bars and restaurants. So they're distinct companies, which let me tell you, it's really fun to try to manage two companies in different time zones. Um, that are working together. They depend on each other to be successful. The business in Japan, the people that work there are mostly Japanese nationals, and so there has to be a compromise of sorts. There has to be, we can't just go full blown American corporation plop down in Japan, because that company is going to, even if internally it does everything in a very quote unquote American way, it still is trying to do business in Japan
Japan.
with Japanese entities, Japanese partners. So something's got to give. And it's going to always, if you want to be successful, it has to give in the favor of the host country. Our suppliers are naturally all based in Japan. These are old family businesses who have never well, most of them have never exported a thing before. I mean, even just sending product to Tokyo is a mind-blowing experience for some of them. And so we have to tread very carefully in the way that we approach them, the way that we request things of them, the way that we negotiate with them. And this is naturally going to be enabled by having very competent Japanese speakers. My Japanese is okay, but I don't care what, whatever I say, no matter how many drinks I've had, I'm never going to convince you that I can negotiate a legal situation as well as some of the people I work with. So I tend to get out of the way and let them do their work. And we're trying to do something that's just patently new to everybody. So we're walking on eggshells half the time. We're often not asking enough at other times. It's a really wild experiment, and I've learned a ton. Every day I learn three new things that I'm really, really not good at, and so it's been a very humbling experience. But at the end of the day, we're trying to do something that nobody's ever done before, and if it was easy, then everybody would do it.
That is true. That is true. And listen, you're doing something like you said. It's you're trying to manage two businesses in two different countries, and trying to maintain a relationship between the two. And so that's not easy. It's hard running one company.
Yeah.
Now trying to
Yep.
get two at the same time, that's a little bit more extra work. So I could imagine the work that you got to put into it.
Yeah. It's
And like
exciting
we
with the. Yeah. Go ahead.
and
Sorry.
like we said before, it was when you're an entrepreneur, you actually work harder for yourself when you work for a business.
Well, that's one great realization that I came to, is that, nobody that works for me is going to ever care as much as I do, just
Yeah,
because it's not the same. Even though you feel like they should, even though I know that they're inspired by what we're trying to do, they do it. They love what we're doing as a team, but because it's not their baby, they don't
it's
they
not the
don't
same.
get quite as fired up about it as I do. So I always have to remind myself of that.
Yeah, we can you can easily get lost and expect people to love it as much as you do, and yeah, you're right. It's no one's gonna love my business more than me because
Right.
I put all my heart and soul and my blood and sweat and all that.
Hmm.
And yes, people work hard for you as well, but like you said, it's not theirs. It's not their baby. This is not. So you're always gonna put forward more effort, and then yeah, you expect people, and that's the problem is when we start putting expectations on people that that's where we mess up. So yeah,
Yeah.
you have the right mindset. Like yeah,
Mhm.
not everyone's gonna work as hard as you because again, this is your pride and joy, and this is your name and your brand. So I could understand that.
Yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been a humbling experience. It's been good. I'm more of an adult now than I was in 2020, that's for sure. Although I
Oh
still do
man,
drink a lot. It's an occupational hazard. So,
I'm sure you got to always try something new.
and right now, as you know, I'm in San Francisco. Why am I here? It's because I'm doing a national I'm ping-ponging about the country, talking to accounts and doing staff trainings and working with our supplier partner to educate their team of salespeople. And we're trying to establish, essentially help establish a category in the States. This drink has been here for a while, but nobody's really pushed it. Nobody's really tried to educate about it really that much. There have been small, very small companies importing their own lines of 2 to 3 products that have, at least, there's a great company in California, there's another great one in New York, among others, who have for a few years now been just really punching away at it, trying to get people to pay attention to shochu. And I think in addition to us, there are a few other players coming into the market, but it's really been very piecemeal. And this is tough work because you're trying to get somebody to spend quite a lot of money on something that they've never heard of before. Now, the quality is there, the history is there. This isn't some new trendy thing that has been cooked up by an ad agency. This is 500 plus years of Japanese history that has
Yeah.
just been hiding in Japan forever. But I'm here to try and wake people up to the fact that there's these amazing spirits out there that are incredibly expressive. And this always blows people's minds. Shochu outsells sake in Japan.
Wow. Well, to us, it would be, we would think as a surprise because we think that sake is the
National
main,
drink, right?
yeah, over there, but and it isn't, and so, but I could see that people thinking that sake is the number one seller, but
Well, it was forever until around 2003, 2004, when shochu sales, and shochu's a spirit. This is the thing that makes it really remarkable. This would be like if, all of a sudden rum or tequila sales started beating wine and beer sales in the States. That would be remarkable because spirits have more alcohol, so we tend to drink less of them in a drink. Whereas, I mean, how long does it take to go through a bottle of wine? Like
yeah,
15 minutes?
not that long,
Not
not
that
that
long for
long.
two people? Yeah, it's gone. So the fact that this spirit is outselling by volume and by value sake in Japan is remarkable, and it's really, I say this all the time, and hopefully it's not true anymore before I die. It is Japan's best kept secret. It's a class of spirits that it can be made from a variety of ingredients, and they're koji, and koji is an important word. Those of you who know about food might have heard about koji, but it's an incredibly diverse spirits class that is almost entirely consumed in Japan. And that's the trend I'm trying to break here. I'm trying to bust it loose from Japan because frankly, the industry needs it. The population is aging at an increasingly rapid rate. The young people out there that do not drink a whole lot or not nearly as much as our generation did and our parents' generation did. This is true not only in Japan, it's true in the States too. I mean, everybody has these stupid things now, right? And they don't need liquid courage to contact that person, you know? They don't need what is it, sliding into someone's DMs? I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
how much bravery that takes. It takes some chutzpah, I guess, but it's different now. So I guess we need to figure out how to appeal to folks who are perhaps spirits fans. Maybe they love their tequila or mezcal. Maybe they're gin or whiskey drinkers, and tell these stories about the people, the place, the process here in, or I always speak like I'm in Japan. I'm not in Japan temporarily, but in Japan, talk about everything that's happening there, and then we can slowly start to affect people's purchasing decisions.
All right, yeah, that's and it's we touched on it already about the difference of doing business here and doing the business over there, especially with the systems and everything.
Right.
So what but what have you, is there anything you've tried to implement that you've learned in Japan with your team, with your with your workforce over here in the States?
I think That's a really good question. I'm not sure I've really thought about that so concretely before, but one thing that we try to, well, yeah, there's an obvious answer to this. The name of our company, Honkaku, it actually in Japanese means authentic. And what we're trying to do is bring this aspect of Japanese culinary culture to new audiences in a way that would make the people who make these products proud. And proud that that we're not cutting corners, proud that something that their family has been making for generations is being appreciated as is, proud that we haven't had to play into whatever marketing strategies might be necessary in order to catch the attention of every single consumer in a geographic location in the United States. So we really work hard on our packaging design, on all of the extra information that's on our website surrounding these products to tell the stories and to give people as much information as possible about we're not really doing anything that's necessarily American to the products. Does that make sense? Other
Yeah.
than what's required by the TTB, the lovely organization that controls all label approvals in the United States. And so there are certain things we have to put on the label. But I mean, if you take a look at this is our whiskey brand called Takamine.
Oh, that looks
And you
nice.
can see that, yeah, it's a pretty
It's a
subtly designed.
yeah, it's a simple design, but it looks nice. It really does. I like the oh man, that's a really nice bottle.
And it has a story of who it's inspired by, this gentleman, Dr. Jokichi Takamine. We're trying to do what we can to make sure that this people get a little bit of an education about Japan from these bottles. This is a bottle of barley shochu that
Masako.
yeah, Masako, that's right. And
Masako.
if you know anything about kimono, which is the special gown that people wear in Japan, you'll notice that this neckline up here at the top is the neckline from the kimono here. And then this midsection, the label, is actually the belt that goes around the kimono. So it's we're without putting pictures of dragons and geisha and other things on there that are very pop culture.
Yeah.
We're trying to make reference to the people and the place without going overboard with it. So that's been a delicate balancing act that we've worked very closely with the makers to achieve, so that we're doing something that they would be proud to put out there as well.
Yeah. That's dope. That's definitely dope. It's crazy talking to you right now, and you saying these names and the way you pronouncing them and everything, and I'm getting it, and I'm starting to realize why Spanish music is so popular over there in Japan. It's because I listen to reggaeton all the time, and out in Japan, reggaeton is big, and is like I'm shocked to realize that a lot of Spanish artists love going to Japan because they get so much love over there.
Uh-huh.
So, and with you, the way you pronounce it, I can understand. I'm starting to realize why, because they can. I guess they can probably understand it much more than they do the English.
Well, yeah, English is annoying because how it's pronounced and how it's spelled is not
Yes.
necessarily even close to the same thing. One nice thing about Japanese, and I suppose maybe this could be a teaser for the show, get a free Japanese pronunciation guide if you listen all the way through. It really is simple to pronounce Japanese correctly if you just pronounce the vowel sounds accurately. And there's only five vowel sounds in Japanese. It's A, E, I, O, U. That's
Yeah.
it. And they are pronounced very similar to Spanish or Italian.
Yeah.
So A is A, E is E,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
is E, O is O, and U is U. That's it. So when you say like this one right here, you just say ma, sa, ko.
Go. Yeah.
That's it. You got it,
That's like,
right?
and that's why I'm like it's like this is Spanish.
Yeah. This one, as you can see, is ta, ka,
Yeah.
mi, ne.
Yeah.
Right? It's not takamine. It's not
Oh,
takamine.
Takamine. No,
It's takamine. That's right.
Takamine.
And
That's how we
another
would say it in
thing,
Spanish.
Exactly. And the only difference with Spanish is that Japanese is kind of flat when you speak it.
Yeah.
So that you don't stress any of the syllables necessarily. So you don't say takamine, you say takamine. It's just flat across. The only time you stress syllables is when you're animated or anxious or pissed off. And then you might start accentuating certain syllables within the sentence, but it's pretty easy to get. Now, one common mispronunciation in America and around the world is for sake, right? One of Japan's other national drinks. So, knowing what we know now, how should you pronounce sake?
Oh, well, how, well, you,
Because
I,
everybody
I'm already
says,
programmed, so it's gonna be
yeah.
difficult for me.
Everybody says sake, right?
No,
But
it's sake.
that would be saki,
Yeah,
right? Which is wrong. Sake is sake.
sake. Yeah.
That's right. So if you want to pronounce it correctly, it's you just have to get the vowel sounds right, and then pretty much everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, but no, it's great. It's great because I knew I know the right way to pronounce it. It's just in your head. You're like, am I gonna say it right? No, no. All right, but yeah,
Yep, it takes some practice, but now you know. So the next time you go to a Japanese restaurant and you look at all those words that have been transliterated into English, you can say most of them correctly if you just pay attention to those 2 points.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. 'Cause I had a doctor's appointment this morning. I had to get some blood work done, and they have a thank you board for the nurses and all that. And one of the words was in Japanese, "arigato,"
Uh-huh.
and and it was thank you for for them for the service
For
that we're
yeah, for
providing and
everything
all
they
that.
do.
So it was cool. So it was talking to you now. I was like, but I saw something in Japan today. I read a word today, and it was just like everything was lining up. It was like, all right, so it's
That's
cool, man.
cool. Sounds like a good clinic.
Yeah. All right. So now is the time where you just let everybody know where they can find your website, everything.
Oh, okay. The website's easy. It's honkakuspirits.com. Honkaku is Honkaku, Honkaku. And on that website, you'll be able to see all of the products that we are bringing in, as well as where you can find them. There's a store locator feature to the website. Our website is very musically focused because we love the connection between music and alcohol. I'm sure everybody does. So there's that component to the website. One of our makers is actually a professional musician, so you can listen to her album on Spotify if you search for her profile.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
we're very reachable, very easy to interact with at Honkaku Spirits on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. And then you can track me down very easily on the same platforms at some variation of Christopher Pellegrini. I love to have conversations about Japan's indigenous spirits. So if you happen to be at a bar or a restaurant with a shochu list. That's shochu from Japan, not soju, S-O-J-U from Korea, but shochu from
Shochu,
Japan.
yes.
If you happen to be in a restaurant that has a list, then you can just take a photo of it and DM it to me, and I'll tell you what to get. What's the best cost performance on that, or what's the rarest bottle on the list? And I basically my entire reason for being is to spread Japan's indigenous spirits around the world. And so hopefully, before I'm laid to rest, these products will be available in pretty much every food and bev establishment worldwide. It's a grand ambition, but it's worth doing.
Listen, if you don't have big dreams, man, then you shouldn't be dreaming at all. So I'm glad you are dreaming big, man. You know, you're gonna be successful at what you do because I can see that you're you really love what you're doing, and again, this is your baby, and to go from to go from academia
Yeah,
to booze, and but again, it's not it's dope because it's something different. It's something unique. It's something that you're trying to share with the rest of the world, and that's cool. It's cool. I'm saying, especially to share the history especially on your bottles, to have a little story on all that. That's cool, man. Not everyone does that. Not everybody does that, and some people, they like to know what they're drinking, and of course not the casual drinker. It's not gonna be
Right.
really, but someone who does enjoy whiskey, enjoys what different experiences and all that. They like to do a little history and read all that. So that's cool, man. I think that's a big key and a big part in marketing, man. That's something different. Like
Cheers, man.
not many. I don't think anyone. I don't really think of many people are doing that. So that's dope, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
But before we leave, we're gonna play a little quick game.
Oh boy.
All right? It's easy. It's easy.
Okay.
It's nothing serious. It's nothing serious. It's
All
just
right,
to
hit me.
have a little. It's just to have a little fun.
Got it.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Would you rather? This little gruesome, but get your hand stuck in a meat grinder or a blender.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If this was Drink Champs, you would be taking a shot.
Do I have that option rather than answering the question? I take a shot as a penalty. I don't know. Let's
do it.
What is it?
That's kind of gruesome. I don't. No, we need your hands. No, let's skip that.
I
All
don't
right.
want to
Would
give
you
anybody any
rather?
ideas.
Yeah. Would you rather spend the night in a dumpster or a porta potty?
Let's go with, as long as it's not on fire, a dumpster.
Yeah, I guess as long
I
as it's
don't
not
know
a
what
fire.
else
Yeah,
could be living in there.
yeah, because as you know what, especially if it's a dumpster from a restaurant.
That's all going to be from the
Yeah.
day's stuff. But there could also be some things in there looking for the food. So I don't know. That's a risky one right there.
Yeah,
And it depends on how full the porta potty is.
Okay.
But
This
I've
is
seen
easy.
horror stories of those things getting knocked over with people
Yeah,
in them. That's not cool.
No.
Ruin
All
your
right.
day.
This is an easier one. Would you rather get a shoulder massage or a foot massage?
Shoulder.
Shoulder.
Yeah.
Me, it's foot. My feet hurt. So, but I don't think the wife would do that.
I
think she'd prefer to give me a shoulder massage than mess with my feet.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't wish my feet on anybody. I definitely walk around with a bag of heavy bottles on one shoulder and have
you could
wrecked
definitely
my
use that.
back and neck, so I could use it.
All right. Would you rather be covered in bees or spiders?
Bees.
Bees. He said that quickly.
I hate spiders.
He answered that quickly.
I unless they're really, really angry bees, I think you just have to chill out and they're probably not gonna do too much damage.
He said bees quickly. Oh,
spiders can no. Not at all. Never.
All right, you're right. That's it. That's it for the questions. But man, Christopher, it's been great talking to you.
You too. Why?
This has been fun, man, and I got to learn something new. So it's every day to me. As long as I learn something new every day, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and then also being able to share stories like yourself, like someone who's, like you said, spent most of your time in academia, and then to start your own business and started in 2 countries, man. Not one, but 2 countries, man.
13-hour time difference. It's exciting.
Yeah, that to me is like, people need to hear this story, because this is inspirational to see someone who, and this wasn't what you did for a living. You weren't in the industry. You was a teacher. You was doing that, and to go to the field that you're in now, and to be able to, man, God bless you, bro. It's not easy, man, especially to do it in 2 countries, man. So just keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep the hard work, man, and any way I can help you, let me know. I'm down. If I want to run ads on the podcast, whatever, it's cool.
Thank you, Wise. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
But don't leave just yet. It's gonna be quick shout outs, and then we're gonna talk a little bit off the air.
Cool.
All right. So Big shout out to the Real Wise fam, Bobby J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady. Love you, baby. Appreciate everything you do for me. Big shout out to our guest, Christopher Pellegrini, for coming through and showing some love.
Thank you.
And as always, a big, big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. And you know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Listen on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and TuneIn. Find us on social media on Twitter at wise_b_blunt, Instagram at wise_b_blunt, and a Facebook fan page, www.facebook.com/wise76. Check back soon for new episodes. Until next time, peace out.